Okay, welcome back to Eyes Open Media. It's been a while since I did a video on this channel. And hopefully, once I grab a new laptop, as you guys know, my laptop is not working, so I'm going to be purchasing a new laptop. I'm just waiting for the money to transfer. So I'm waiting on a new laptop. As I do that, I'm doing videos on the main channel, and as I'm doing a video right now on this channel using my phone. Okay. I'm thank God I'm able to do that. I'm able to, we have the technology to be able to do videos on the phone and do everything just like I can do on a laptop. Okay. So yeah. So any well, I guess let's just go on to the I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's just go on to the article here. Okay. So it says CNN. It says 25 additional heavily armed U.S. Marines arrived at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad within last several hours, a U.S. official tells CNN. Okay, so here we go again with more Marines showing up to Baghdad. Okay. Now remember, they have to the U.S. embassy is inside the green zone. Okay. And they want to protect the green zone from the demonstrators that might that might do stuff that is out of bounds, right? Last Saturday, we saw them storm into the green zone, which they were allowed to do by by U.S. body and Sauder, right? They allowed these people to come in. The coalition forces also allowed them to come in. Now, some of them went overboard. They did vandalize some things. They did break some glasses and things of that nature. That went a little too far. Once they saw that, the United States and the coalition forces came in and then said enough is enough and started moving them out of the green zone. And then Sauder also said enough is enough. Okay, so basically, Sauder working with the Americans and with Abadi to watch over the citizens and that were in the green zone. And once they saw it was going a little bit too far, they started to come in and tell people, including the coalition forces, which are the British and everybody else, they come in and they started pushing these people back, okay, and saying, okay, it's time to move out. Okay, they didn't harm any other citizens, they didn't harm anybody. They allowed them to do that. They allowed them to go in there. As you see in the pictures, you don't see any American soldiers in any of those pictures last week. You don't see any British soldiers, any Russian soldiers, any Chinese soldiers. You don't see any France soldiers or any of the coalition forces or anybody that has troops in there. You don't see. All you saw was the Iraqi forces, right? There was pictures of the Iraqi forces. None of the other ones were coalition forces because the coalition forces had backed up, allowed these people to do what they did in the green zone. Okay, and we had the green zone secured for the embassy, right? Because the U.S. embassy, quickly came out because somebody put out some false information that the U.S. embassy was told to evacuate and do some, run away and things of that nature. So, U.S. Embassy quickly came out and said, no, nobody has told us to evacuate. No one has told us to run away. Everything is good. We're working on, and we hope Iraq continues to work on the reforms. Okay, so we're working. So we know that's true. We have heavily armed Marines and special forces around the Rafidian Bank, Rashid banks, and all the other banks that hold the lower denoms. Right. Also, we have heavily armed people around the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq, as well, and also, of course, our embassy. And now it says here that we added additional 25 U.S. Marines to help out with the security at the embassy. Okay, so we got everything under control. A lot of this stuff we don't really need because it was a planned attack by the citizens to come on in. We allowed them to come on in, so that was planned. Okay, so it's not like we're in any type of threat or anything. We told them to go in, and then when you look at the videos of citizens, most of them are happy. They're celebrating inside the parliament. They're having a good time inside the parliament. They're sitting in their chairs. They're smiling. They're taking selfies and pictures, and they're videotaping it, and they're dancing and waving the Iraqi flag. Okay, so it wasn't like they were coming in there to hurt people. Okay, now they did pistol whip some of the politicians that were still there. I don't even know why some of the politicians were there. There was a lack of quorum. Now, that's what they're telling us, that there was a lack of quorum. But they could have been a secret meeting before they allowed those people to come in. They could have been a secret meeting between Abadi and his technocrats to get some of these things, some of the some laws or some things done. Okay, and then when they left, then they said there was a lack of quorum, and then they rushed. Then they allowed the people to rush in. That could be possible. Some people are saying that could be possible, and I agree that could have been possible. Okay, they could have came in there earlier, did what they had to do, with a body and his technocrats, then get out of the way, and then announce that there was a lack of quorum, so no one showed up, and then the people rushed in. Okay, so that might be why there was several politicians still around the parliamentary area buildings when those people rushed in, and then they started getting pistol whipped, right? Because they might have been in those secret meetings. They could have happened. I don't know why politicians will be there if there's a lack of quorum. Okay, so yeah, and it's a Saturday, so it's not like you have to go in for any type of like business work. You know what I mean? So that's possible. That's a possibility. But once again, going back from last year, we talked about how the U.S. troops were starting to come into Iraq by the thousands. Okay, and they were going to be surrounding the borders. They were going to be helping out with the taxes and tariffs. They were going to be doing a lot of things in Iraq, securing the green zone. Now you see that the green zone is being used and talked about a lot. Back then, we told you guys that the green zone, that the troops are in the green zone, and they got thousands of troops in the green zone, and you're going to start to hear a lot about the green zone, okay? Because we got the troops in there protecting the green zone and things of that nature. Now, every week we're hearing things about the green zone, right? So we knew this was coming 6, 7, 8 months ago. Okay, when we got news that the troops were coming into the green zone to protect the green zone, protect the banks, and finish up the monetary reform for Iraq. Okay, so yeah, so it says that 25 additional heavily armed U.S. Marines arrived at the embassy. We don't know if these numbers are true or not because, of course, this is coming from CNN. Mainstream media lies about a lot of things. It could be 2,500 troops, and they just want to make it, and they just want to cut it. They just want to tell us that it's 25, but it could be 2,500 troops. You know what I mean? Or 250 troops. Okay, so we don't know for the true numbers, but it says the Marines were requested by the State Department, which is in charge of security. Okay, I don't know if that means the State Department of Iraq or the State Department of America, which called to bring more secured and heavily armed Marines to the embassy to make sure the embassy is taken care of. I don't know. It says concerns have risen since demonstrations occurred there last week in Baghdad's green zone where the embassy is located. Okay, now we know that if this is coming from America, we know that this can't be true because America was a part of this demonstrations that the citizens did. America was a part of it. Okay, they allowed them to come into the green zone and do this. Okay, so that's kind of weird that we're saying, well, at the same time, we're not going to tell people the truth anyways. And most people don't know what's going on in Iraq to even believe anything I say anyways. See, but we study this stuff all day long. So we know that America was part of these people coming in. These citizens could not have come into the green zone unless the coalition forces and the American forces allowed them to do it. And so Sauter said, let them through and let them have their way, put it on the mainstream media and make it look like we're going through hell. Okay. And that's what they did. Okay. So it says more demonstrations had been expected Friday, but the U.S. officials said that the area has remained peaceful so far. Neither the Pentagon or State Department disclosed the precise number of security forces already on site. Yeah, they're not gonna disclose the amount of military Marines, especially Marines that are on site. There's thousands of them, and the reason why they're not going to do it is because all this time from since last year summer till now, they've been lying about the numbers of Marines and numbers of special forces and army that is in Iraq, because there's thousands of U.S. troops in Iraq. There's thousands of coalition forces in Iraq. Okay, and they're securing the green zone. They secure the borders for taxes and tariffs. They secure a lot of things, and of course now they are securing the banks because the banks have the lower denoms. Okay, so the lower notes and the lower coins are in the banks, and now so they need a lot of troops to secure these banks because these banks hold the lower notes and the lower coins. Okay, so that's why we have a lot of troops around the central bank, Rashfidian Bank, Rashid Bank, and all the other major banks that are going to be launching this global market economy in Iraq. Okay, hopefully in the next less than how many weeks we have less here. Today is what's today's date? Let me check here. Today is May 7th. So May 7th we have about all of June is 4 weeks, and so we got about 7 weeks left in the first half of 2016. Iraq is supposed to be back on the global markets in the first half of 2016, right? So Rashid Bank came out and told us that that their banking restructure with Rafidian and Rashid Bank is 98% completed. Okay, so that tells us that they are right on track to have this thing, to have their global market economy launched in the first half. Okay, because they're only 2% away, and that other 2% is probably the change in value, right? Giving out the lower denoms to the streets and changing the values, probably the other 2% of their reconstruction, right? So we know from articles in the past, it said that the Rafidian and Rashid Bank have to be 100% restructured for the raising of the value of the currency and launching a global market economy. Okay, I brought you those articles. I post them on Currency 365, so you guys you might want to stroll down to find those articles. But I did post that. I think I'm not sure it was last week. We posted that one, or a week or maybe 2 weeks ago. Okay, so we know that we're close. Okay, we know we're close, and we know that it has to be this year because the Central Bank of Iraq's reserves is not going to last another 9 months. Okay, they probably have 9 months left in the reserve. I think some people said they have 8 months left in the reserves. Okay, so some people say they have 8 months left in the reserves. Some people say they have 9 months left in the reserves, and some people said they have 7 months. So between 7 to 9 months left in their reserves if they continue the way they're going. So we know that, and something has to change. Okay, the IMF. It's all on the IMF because they're the ones that told the whole world that Iraq would be back on the global market economy in the first half of 2016. And then they signed a letter of intent with Iraq for them to launch a global market economy, okay, in the first half of 2000. And then last week they told us that they will be completed with Iraq in May, by the end of May, okay? So we know this. We know Ramadan, for those people who celebrate that, we know that that's June 5th sundown. So we know that between Ramadan, June 5th sundown to July 5th sundown, we most likely won't see a rate change happen anytime in that range. All right. So we need to see this thing before June 5th. Right, so that's one of the reasons why I guess the IMF said we will be completed with Iraq. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they're talking about their letter of intent, and then we see a global market economy. Okay, sometime in May or early June. Hopefully, man. If not, could they do it during Ramadan? I don't think so. I don't think they would do that. But it would shock the world, wouldn't it? So we are looking for a shock factor. Anything is possible, and we're still waiting for the IMF to make the announcement that a global announcement. We don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Hopefully, it has to deal with a reset or Iraq or Iran or something like that nature, and them coming back and re-entering the global market with Article 8 or something like that nature. Okay, so once again, it says CNN 25 additional heavily armed U.S. Marines arrived at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad within the last several hours. A U.S. official tells CNN. Okay, so we don't know if it's 25 or 250 or 2,500. Okay, because we know this is the mainstream media, and they're not going to give us the real numbers until months later down the road. Okay, so we know that. So, anyways, that's it for me. Yeah, the green zone is protected. It's good to go. The banks are protected with the lower notes in them right now. So we're just waiting for them to lift the value of the currency. The lower notes are in the banks. They just got to lift the value now. Okay, so we're waiting on that. So eyes open, and talk to you guys soon. Peace out.